Snow dusted Pittsburgh's Squirrel Hill, cloaking Murray Avenue in a quiet shimmer that softened the neon glow of bagel shops and bookstores. Denise Carter stood at the window of her third-floor apartment, her breath fogging the glass, her hands wrapped around a chipped mug of tea. The street below was a winter tableau, students from Carnegie Mellon trudging through slush, families hauling grocery bags, and the occasional bus rumbling past, its tires crunching snow. At 42, Denise was used to Pittsburgh's December chill, but tonight a different cold settled in her chest, sharp and unfamiliar. The apartment was small but warm, filled with the clutter of a librarian's life. Books stacked on every surface, a quilt her mother had made, and photos of her and Malik, her 20-year-old son, smiling at Point State Park. Denise had raised Malik alone since his father left when he was 3, working long hours at the Carnegie Library to keep them afloat. Lately, though, Malik had been distant, spending nights out and dodging her questions with shrugs and half-smiles. She chalked it up to his age, to the community college classes he barely attended, but now doubt gnawed at her. She'd been checking her bank account on her laptop, a routine before paying rent, when an alert from her credit card company stopped her cold. A $25,000 auto loan opened in her name, tied to a car she didn't own. Her heart raced as she clicked through the details. A red Dodge Charger, financed last week at a dealership in Monroeville. Denise hadn't bought a car, hadn't even been to Monroeville in months, but she knew someone who had. Malik, who'd been bragging about a new ride he claimed a friend lent him. Denise set her mug down, her hands trembling. The apartment's radiator hissed, a stark contrast to the silence in her head. She pulled out her phone, her fingers hesitating over Malik's contact, Malik, son, before calling her best friend Keisha, who worked as a nurse at UPMC. Denise, what's wrong? Keisha's voice was sharp, picking up on the first ring. You sound like you saw a ghost. Malik used my credit, Denise said, her voice barely above a whisper. He bought a car, 25 grand, Keisha. I didn't know. Keisha's curse was low and fierce. How? He's got your card info. I don't know, Denise said, pacing the living room, her slippers scuffing the worn rug. Maybe from bills or, God, I trusted him. He's been driving around in it, acting like it's his. You gotta confront him, Keisha said, and call the bank. This ain't just a mistake, Denise. That's fraud. Denise's throat tightened. Fraud. The word felt like a blade, cutting through the love she'd poured into Malik. I can't believe he'd do this, she said, tears threatening. He's my son. I know, Keisha said, softer now. But you gotta protect yourself. Come to my place if you need to, okay? Denise hung up, her eyes falling on a photo of Malik at 10, grinning with a missing tooth at the Pittsburgh Zoo. Where had that boy gone? She grabbed her coat, the snow still falling outside, and headed to the parking lot where Malik kept the car. There it was, a red Dodge Charger, sleek and out of place among the neighbors' Hondas and Fords. The sight of it, gleaming under the streetlight, made her stomach lurch. It wasn't just a car, it was her credit, her savings, her trust. The apartment door creaked open, and Malik stepped in, his hoodie dusted with snow, his keys jangling. He was tall, with his father's sharp jaw and Denise's warm eyes. But tonight, those eyes avoided hers. Hey, Ma, he said, kicking off his sneakers. What's up? Denise held up her phone, the loan alert glowing on the screen. What's this, Malik? Her voice was steady, but her hands shook. A car loan in my name, $25,000? Malik froze, his keys clattering to the floor. I was gonna tell you, he stammered, his voice low. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal. Denise's voice rose, echoing in the small apartment. You used my credit without asking. That's my name, my money, my life. Malik's jaw tightened and he looked away, shoving his hands in his pockets. I needed it, okay? I'm trying to build something, my brand, my music. The car's part of the image. I'll pay you back. With what? Denise snapped, stepping closer. "You're barely passing your classes. You don't have a job. How could you do this to me?" Malik's eyes flashed a mix of guilt and defiance. "You're always on me, Ma. Get a job, go to school. I'm trying to be somebody, not just your kid. I thought you'd understand." Understand? Denise's voice broke, tears spilling over. "I've worked my whole life for you, Malik. This apartment, your clothes, your food, my credit paid for it all. And you stole from me." Malik looked down, his shoulders slumping. "I didn't steal, I borrowed. I'll fix it, I swear." Denise shook her head, her heart aching, but her resolve hardening. "You can't fix this with promises. I'm reporting the car as stolen, tomorrow." Malik's head snapped up, his eyes wide. "You serious? Ma, that's my car. You'd send me to jail?" "It's not yours," Denise said, her voice low and firm. "And I'm protecting myself. You made this choice, not me." Malik grabbed his keys, his face a storm of anger and hurt. "Fine, do what you gotta do, but don't expect me to stick around." He stormed out, the door slamming behind him, the sound reverberating like a gunshot. Denise sank onto the couch, the apartment too quiet, the snow outside too loud. She cried, the weight of the last hour crushing her. Malik was her son, her heart, but he'd crossed a line she couldn't ignore. She pulled out her phone and dialed the Pittsburgh police non-emergency line, her voice shaking as she reported the car as stolen, providing the loan details and Malik's name. The officer was kind but blunt. "We'll look into it, ma'am. Fraud's serious. You got a lawyer?" "Not yet," Denise admitted, her mind racing. She hung up and texted Keisha. "Reported the car. Need a lawyer. I'm scared." Keisha's reply was instant. "You did the right thing. I'm coming over tomorrow. We'll figure this out." Denise stood, her legs unsteady, and walked to Malik's room. His bed was unmade, his desk cluttered with music notebooks and empty energy drink cans. She picked up a photo of them at Kennywood, Malik laughing on the Thunderbolt. "What happened to us?" she whispered, tracing his face. Outside, Squirrel Hill's lights twinkled through the snow, the neighborhood alive with late-night dog walkers and students heading to bars. Denise wasn't alone. Not yet. She'd call a lawyer in the morning, someone to navigate the legal mess Malik had created. For now, she sat by the window, the tea cold in her mug, watching the snow fall. She'd fight for her future, even if it meant fighting her son. The next morning, she found a lawyer through a library colleague, Marlon Hayes, a fraud specialist who offered a free consultation. "Bring everything," Marlon said over the phone, his voice calm but firm. "Loan papers, credit statements, any texts from your son. Will build a case to protect your finances." Denise gathered the documents, her hands steadier now, and stepped outside. The snow had slowed, leaving Squirrel Hill crisp and bright, the Monongahela River glinting in the distance. She wasn't just fighting for her credit, she was fighting for the life she'd built, brick by brick, and she'd start today. Snow clung to Pittsburgh's Squirrel Hill, piling high on Murray Avenue's sidewalks and frosting the windows of delis and thrift shops. Denise Carter walked toward the Carnegie Library, her boots crunching through slush, her breath clouding in the January chill. The neighborhood was a patchwork of life, students hauling textbooks, shopkeepers sweeping, snow, and the distant hum of buses crossing the Monongahela Bridge. At 8 a.m., the city was stirring, but Denise felt frozen, her heart still reeling from Malik's betrayal. The $25,000 car loan he'd taken out in her name was a wound that throbbed with every step, and reporting the Dodge Charger as stolen had only deepened the cut. Last night, after Malik stormed out, Denise had sat by the window, the apartment's silence louder than the snow outside. His promise to fix it rang hollow, and her call to the police felt like a betrayal of her own. But what choice did she have? Her credit was trashed, her savings drained, and the weight of single motherhood, 20 years of sacrifices, was crushing her. She thought of Keisha's words. You gotta protect yourself. Today, she'd meet Marlon Hayes, the lawyer, to figure out how to fight for her financial future without losing her son completely. The Carnegie Library was her second home, a warm brick building with arched windows and the comforting smell of old books and polished wood. Denise clocked in early, her library badge swinging, and headed to her desk in the adult non-fiction section. Before her shift, she'd arranged to meet Marlon at a nearby cafe, Espresso, where the noise of Squirrel Hill's morning crowd might dull her nerves. She gathered her documents, loan papers, credit statements, and a screenshot of Malik's text from last week. "Ma, need to borrow your ID for something quick." "Cool," she'd replied with a thumbs up, trusting him. The memory stung like salt in a wound. Keisha arrived at the library just as Denise was locking her desk, her nurse's scrubs peeking out from under her coat. "You ready for this, lawyer?" Keisha asked, handing her a to-go cup of coffee from 61C Cafe. "Are you still freaking out?" "Both," Denise admitted, the coffee's warmth seeping through her gloves. "I keep seeing Malik's face when I told him I reported the car, like I'd stabbed him." Keisha's eyes softened, but her voice was firm. "He stabbed you first, Denise. That car's a felony on your credit. You did what you had to." Denise nodded, her throat tight. "What if he gets arrested? He's my son, Keisha. I can't—" "You're not sending him to jail," Keisha said, squeezing her arm. "You're setting a boundary. He needs to learn actions have consequences. Now go meet that lawyer and protect your future." Espresso was packed, its brick walls lined with local art, the air thick with the scent of espresso and cinnamon scones. Marlon Hayes was already there, a stocky man in his 50s with a graying beard and a pirate's cap, his laptop open on a corner table. "Ms. Carter," he said, standing to shake her hand. "Marlon Hayes. Let's see what we're dealing with." Denise handed over the documents, her hands unsteady. "My son, Malik, used my credit to buy a car, a $25,000 loan. I didn't know until I got the alert. I reported it as stolen." Marlon's eyebrows rose, but his tone stayed calm. "That's a bold move. Smart, but bold. In Pennsylvania, identity theft, even by a family member, is a felony. Reporting. It protects your credit, but it puts Malik in the crosshairs. You okay with that?" Denise's stomach twisted. "I don't want him in jail. I just want my credit fixed, the loan off my name." Marlon nodded, flipping through the papers. "We can work with that. The loan's in your name. But if Malik forged your signature or used your info without consent, we can dispute it with the lender and credit bureaus. The police report strengthens your case, but they'll investigate Malik for fraud. Best case, he returns the car, the loan's voided, and he faces probation. Worst case, he's charged and you're still on the hook until we clear it." Denise sank back in her chair, the cafe's hum fading. "What do I do now?" "Gather more evidence," Marlon said, jotting notes. "Texts, emails, anything showing he acted alone. I'll draft a dispute letter to the lender and file a fraud affidavit and talk to Malik. If he cooperates, we might avoid criminal charges." Denise nodded, her mind racing. Talking to Malik felt impossible after last night's fight, but she had to try. As she left the cafe, the snow was falling harder, Squirrel Hill streets a blur of white and neon. Her phone buzzed, a text from Jamal, her co-worker at the library. "Heard about the car, you okay? Malik's at the community center, FYI." Her heart skipped. Malik was close, maybe reachable. She texted back, "Thanks. Heading there now." The Squirrel Hill Community Center was a squat brick building, its lot packed with cars and kids sledding on a nearby hill. Inside, the air was warm, smelling of wet coats and pizza from a youth event. Denise spotted Malik in the gym, shooting hoops with a few friends, his red hoodie bright against the faded court. He saw her and froze, the basketball bouncing away. "Ma?" he said, his voice wary as she approached. "What you doing here?" "We need to talk." Denise said, her voice low but firm. About the car, the loan, everything. Malik's friends drifted away, sensing the tension. He crossed his arms, his eyes avoiding hers. I told you, I'll pay it back. Why'd you have to call the cops? Because it's my credit, Malik. Denise's voice rose, drawing glances. You didn't ask. You took $25,000 I don't have. I could lose everything, our apartment, my job, our future. Malik's jaw tightened, but his voice softened. I didn't mean to hurt you, Ma. I got this producer, Jay, who says I need a look to make it in music. The car was part of it. I thought I'd make enough to cover it. Denise's heart ached, his naivety cutting deeper than his betrayal. A producer? Malik, you're 20. You don't even have a single out. Who's this Jay? Just a guy, Malik muttered, looking down. He's got connections, said I need to show I'm serious. Denise stepped closer, her voice shaking. You're serious when you work? For it, not when you steal from me. The police are involved now. You could be charged with fraud. Do you get that? Malik's eyes widened, fear flickering. You'd let them arrest me? I don't want that, Denise said, tears burning her eyes. But you need to make this right. Return the car, tell the truth. I've got a lawyer and we're fighting. The loan, but you have to help me. Malik looked away, his hands clenched. I can't just give it up, Ma. It's my shot. Then you're choosing that car over us, Denise said, her voice breaking. She turned and walked out, the gym's noise fading behind her, the snow stinging her face as she reached the street. Back at the library, Denise was shelving books when a police officer, Sergeant Ramirez, arrived, her badge glinting under the fluorescent lights. Ms. Carter, she said, her voice professional but kind. I'm following up on your stolen vehicle report. Can we talk? Denise led her to a quiet reading room, her heart pounding. Did you find the car? She asked, sitting across from Ramirez. We did, Ramirez said, pulling out a notepad. It's at a lot in Monroeville. Your son, Malik Carter, was driving it. He claims you gave him permission to use your credit. Is that true? No, Denise said, her voice firm. I didn't know about the loan until I got the alert. He used my information without my consent. Ramirez nodded, jotting notes. That's identity theft, ma'am. We can press charges, but since he's your son, we need your statement to proceed. If you want to resolve this civilly, you can work with the lender and a lawyer to void the loan. Either way, the car's impounded until this is settled. Denise's chest tightened. Charges meant Malik's future. College, music, everything could be ruined. But letting it slide meant risking her own stability. I don't want him charged, she said finally. I'm working with a lawyer to dispute the loan. What do I need to do? File a fraud affidavit with the lender and credit bureaus, Ramirez said, handing her a card. And talk to your son. If he cooperates, it'll help. I'll note your preference for a civil resolution, but the DA might still pursue charges if the lender pushes. Denise thanked her, the card heavy in her hand. As Ramirez left, Jamal approached, his face concerned. You okay, Denise? Saw the cop. Not really, Denise admitted, sinking into a chair. Malik's in deeper than I thought. Some producers. Got him thinking a car's his ticket to fame. Jamal frowned, leaning against a bookshelf. Sounds like a scam. My nephew got roped into something similar. Paid a producer for studio time, got nothing. Want me to ask around about this Jay guy? Please, Denise said, grateful. And thanks, Jamal. I don't know what I'd do without you. That evening, Denise met Keisha at Maneo's Pizza, a Squirrel Hill staple, its booths packed with families and students. The smell of pepperoni and warm dough was a small comfort as they split a pie. You did good with the cop, Keisha said, wiping sauce from her fingers. But Malik's got to step up, or he's dragging you both down. I know, Denise said, picking at her slice. He thinks this car's his big break. Some producers, filling his head with dreams. Keisha's eyes narrowed. Sounds like a con. You tell your lawyer about this producer? Not yet, Denise said, pulling out her phone. She texted Marlon. Malik says a producer named Jay told him to get the car for his image. Can we look into this? Marlon replied, on it. Send any details Malik shared. Might be a pattern of fraud. As they left the restaurant, the snow had slowed, Squirrel Hill's streets glowing under streetlights. Denise's phone buzzed, a voicemail from Malik, his voice low. Ma, I'm sorry. I didn't mean for this to blow up. I'm at Jay's place in Oakland. Can we talk? I need help. Denise's heart leaped, hope and fear colliding. She called him back, but it went to voicemail. She texted, come home, Malik, we'll fix this together. No reply. She stood on the sidewalk, the Monongahela River a dark ribbon in the distance, and made a decision. Tomorrow, she'd file the fraud affidavit, dispute the loan, and find Malik. She wasn't just fighting for her credit, she was fighting for her son, even if he couldn't see it yet. Snow swirled through Pittsburgh's Squirrel Hill, dusting Murray Avenue's awnings and icing the Monongahela River's edges. Denise Carter sat at her kitchen table, the radiator hissing softly, her hands clutching a pen over a fraud affidavit form. The apartment was quiet, the morning light filtering through frosted windows, casting shadows on the photos of her and Malik, her 20-year-old son, whose decision to use her credit for a $25,000 Dodge Charger had shattered their trust. The car was impounded now, reported as stolen, but Malik's voicemail from last night, I need help, Ma, echoed in her mind, a lifeline she couldn't ignore. Denise had barely slept, torn between her resolve to protect her finances and her fear. For Malik, who was crashing with a producer named Jay in Oakland, she thought of his excuses, his dreams of music fame, and the way he'd looked at her in the community center gym, equal parts guilt and defiance. She'd filed the affidavit with Marlon Hayes, her lawyer, but every signature felt like a step further from her son. Squirrel Hill's hum outside, dog walkers, students, the clink of coffee shop doors, felt distant, her world narrowed to this fight. Her phone buzzed, a text from Keisha. At UPMC, but you good? Filed the affidavit yet? Denise typed back, just did, going to Oakland to find Malik, he's in trouble. She grabbed her coat, the snow falling harder now, and headed out, the weight of the affidavit in her bag matched by her hope to reach Malik before he slipped further away. Denise met Marlon at his office, a small space above a bagel shop on Forbes Avenue, the smell of sesame seeds drifting through the floorboards. Marlon, in a pirate's hoodie, scanned the affidavit, his graying beard catching the light. This is solid, he said, setting the form down. We've sent it to the lender and credit bureaus. The police report backs your claim of identity theft, but Malik's statement could make or break this. You talked to him yet? Not since last night, Denise said, her hands twisting in her lap. He left a voicemail, said he's with this producer Jay in Oakland. I'm going there today. Marlon's eyebrows rose. A producer? Sounds like trouble. I've seen kids get roped into scams, pay-to-play music deals, fake contracts. Get me Jay's full name, anything you can find. If he's pushing Malik into fraud, we can use it to shift blame. Denise nodded, her stomach churning. What happens next with the loan? We wait for the lender's response, Marlon said, leaning back. Best case, they void the loan and your credit's cleared. Worst case, they hold you liable and we fight in court. The impounded car helps, shows you're not complicit. But Denise, if Malik doesn't cooperate, the DA might charge him. You ready for that? Denise's throat tightened. I don't want him charged. I just want this fixed. I hear you, Marlon said, his voice kind but firm. Keep reaching out to him. A voluntary return of the car could keep this civil. And watch your accounts. Malik might try using your info again. Denise left the office, the snow stinging her face as she walked to her car. Squirrel Hill was alive, students from Carnegie Mellon hauling backpacks, shopkeepers shoveling sidewalks. But her thoughts were on Oakland, where Malik was hiding. She drove across the Shenley Bridge, its steel arches glinting through the flurries, Oakland's university sprawl unfolding below, coffee shops, dorms, and the Cathedral of Learning piercing the grey sky. The Oakland Community Center was a hub of activity, its brick facade plastered with flyers for open mics and study groups. Denise parked near a snowball fight, kids laughing as they pelted each other, and headed inside. The air smelled of popcorn and gym mats, a youth music workshop in full swing. She spotted a volunteer, Ms. Tanya, a retiree who ran the center's programs, her silver braids bright against her Steelers scarf. "Denise," Tanya called, waving her over. "What brings you to Oakland? Looking for Malik?" Denise nodded, surprised. "How'd you know?" "He was here yesterday," Tanya said, lowering her voice. "Hanging with some music kids, talking about a producer named Jay. Seemed stressed, kept checking his phone. I heard he's staying at an apartment on Atwood Street." Denise's heart leaped. "Atwood? You got an address?" "Not exact," Tanya said, pulling out her phone, "but I'll text you the block. Be careful, Denise. Jay's got a rep, promises kids fame, takes their money. Malik's in deep." Denise thanked her, the address pinging on her phone. She stepped outside, the snow falling heavier, Oakland's streets buzzing with students and street vendors. She drove to Atwood Street, a narrow strip of row houses and dive bars, and parked near a building Tanya had flagged. The red Dodge Charger was gone, impounded, but Malik might still be here. She knocked on the door, her heart pounding, but no answer. A neighbor, shoveling snow, glanced over. Looking for the music guy? They left an hour ago, headed to a studio downtown. Denise's hope deflated, but she thanked the neighbor and texted Malik. "I know you're with Jay. I'm worried. Come home, please." No reply. She drove back to Squirrel Hill, the city's bridges stretching like lifelines, her mind racing. Malik was chasing a dream, but at what cost? At the Carnegie Library, Denise shelved books, the routine calming her nerves. Jamal caught her during a break, his face serious. "Asked around about Jay," he said, leaning against a cart. "Real name's Jason Carter. No relation. He's been fleecing kids for years. Charges for studio time, music videos, never delivers. Got a studio downtown, but it's a front. You tell your lawyer?" "Yeah," Denise said, her anger flaring. "Marlon's looking into him. If Jay's scamming Malik, maybe that's why he needed the car, to impress him." Jamal nodded, handing her a coffee. "Could be. My nephew said Jay's crew hangs at a bar on Liberty Avenue. Want me to check it out?" "Please," Denise said, grateful. "I just want Malik safe." After her shift, Denise met Keisha at Commonplace Coffee, a cozy Squirrel Hill spot with mismatched mugs and steaming lattes. The snow had slowed, the neighborhood's lights twinkling through the windows. "You went to Oakland?" Keisha asked, stirring her drink. "Girl, you're a detective now." Denise managed a laugh, but it faded fast. "He wasn't there. Tanya says he's with this Jay guy who's bad news. I'm scared, Keisha." "What? If Malik's too deep to get out?" Keisha reached across the table, her hand warm on Denise's. "He's your son. He's not gone. But you gotta keep fighting, for you, for him. What's the lawyer say?" "File the affidavit, wait for the lender," Denise said, sipping her coffee. "But if Malik doesn't come clean, he could face charges. And I found how Jay's a scammer, might have pushed Malik into this." Keisha's eyes narrowed. "Then we nail Jay. Tell Marlon to dig into him and keep calling Malik. He reached out once, he'll do it again." That evening, Denise was home, cooking chili to calm her nerves, when her phone rang. Malik, his voice shaky. "Ma, I'm sorry," he said, the background noisy with music. "Jay's not what I thought. He's charging me for everything. Studio, videos, even the car. I'm in over my head." Denise's heart raced, relief and fear colliding. "Where are you, Malik? I'll come get you." "Downtown," he said, his voice low. "A studio on 5th. But Jay's got my stuff, my laptop, my tracks. I can't just leave." "You can," Denise said, her voice firm. "You're more than this, Malik. Come home. We'll fix the loan, the car, everything, together." Malik was quiet then. "I'll think about it." Don't tell the cops where I am, okay? Malik. The line went dead. Denise stared at her phone, tears welling. He was scared, but he was talking. She texted Marlon. Malik called. He's with Jay at a studio downtown, 5th Ave. Jay's scamming him. Can we use this? Marlon replied, perfect, I'll subpoena. Jay's records. Get Malik to cooperate and we can avoid charges. Denise stood, the chili simmering, the apartment warm against the snow outside. She thought of Malik's voicemail, his plea for help, and the photo of them at Kennywood. She wasn't giving up. Tomorrow, she'd go downtown, find the studio, and bring Malik home. But first, she'd protect herself. She called the lender, confirming the affidavit's receipt, and froze her credit, a shield against further damage. Squirrel Hill's lights glowed through the window, a reminder that she was rooted here, no matter what came next. Snow fell steadily over Pittsburgh, blanketing Squirrel Hill's Murray Avenue in a soft glow that masked the morning's bite. Denise Carter stood outside her apartment, her boots sinking into the slush, her breath clouding as she clutched her car keys. The Monongahela River shimmered faintly in the distance, its icy edges catching the dawn, while the neon signs of delis and cafes flickered through the haze. Malik's voicemail from last night, "I'm in over my head, Ma," played on a loop in her mind, a beacon pulling her toward downtown Pittsburgh, where he was holed up with a producer named Jay in a studio on 5th Avenue. The $25,000 car loan he'd taken out in her name, now tied to an impounded Dodge Charger, was a legal noose tightening around them both. But Denise's heart ached for her son more than her ruined credit. She'd filed the fraud affidavit yesterday, a step to void the loan, but Marlon Hayes, her lawyer, had warned her, without Malik's cooperation, the police might charge him with identity theft. Denise's call to freeze her credit had bought her time, but time was running out. Malik's plea for help was a crack in his defiance, and she had to reach him before Jay's scam, or the law, swallowed him whole. She thought of Keisha's advice. He's your son, but you gotta fight for you too. Today, she'd do both. Denise drove across the Birmingham Bridge, its steel cables dusted with snow, downtown skyline emerging through the flurries, glass towers, the PPG places, spires, and the golden arches of the Fort Duquesne Bridge. Her phone buzzed, a text from Marlon. Lenders reviewing the affidavit, got a lead on Jay, real name Jason Carter, history of fraud. Headed to DA's office to discuss Malik's case. Keep me posted. Denise's grip tightened on the wheel. Jay wasn't just a con artist. He was a predator, and Malik was his latest mark. 5th Avenue was a bustling artery, lined with theaters, coffee shops, and office buildings, the snow turning to slush underfoot. Denise parked near a building Tanya, the community center volunteer, had pinpointed as Jay's studio. It was a nondescript storefront, its windows papered over, a faded sign reading Carter Sound Productions. The irony of Jay's last name, Carter like hers, felt like a cruel twist. She knocked, her heart pounding, but the door was locked, the interior dark. A passerby, a delivery guy with a pirate's cap, noticed her. "Looking for Jay?" he said, balancing a stack of pizza boxes. "He's usually at the bar across the street, Primanti's, this time of day." Denise thanked him and crossed the street, the smell of fried onions and beer hitting her as she entered Primanti Brothers, a Pittsburgh institution with its iconic sandwiches piled high with fries and coleslaw. The bar was crowded, office workers, students, and a few early drinkers, but Denise spotted a bartender, a wiry woman named Lena, wiping down the counter. "You know a guy named Jay Carter?" Denise asked, sliding onto a stool. "Runs a studio nearby?" Lena's eyes narrowed, her rag pausing. "Yeah, I know Jay, music producer, right? Always here with kids, flashing cash, promising record deals. What's he to you?" "My son's with him," Denise said, her voice low. "Malik Carter, 20. Jay's got him caught up in some scam. I need to find them." Lena leaned closer, her voice dropping. Jay's bad news. Been fleecing kids for years. Charges for studio time, videos, even cars for their image. Last year, he got a kid to max out his mum's credit for a Mustang. Cops couldn't pin him down. He's slippery. Try the studio around noon. Jay's crew usually shows up then. Denise's stomach churned, Lena's words confirming her fears. Thanks, she said, sliding a tip across the counter. If you see Malik, tall, curly hair, red hoodie, tell him his mom's looking for him. Lena nodded, pocketing the tip. Will do. Good luck, hun. You'll need it. Denise waited. Outside the studio, the snow piling up, her hands numb despite her gloves. Around noon, a group approached. 3 young men, Malik among them, his hoodie unmistakable. Jay was with them, a lanky man in his 30s with a gold chain and a slick smile, carrying a laptop bag. Denise stepped forward, her voice cutting through the cold. Malik! He froze, his eyes wide, while Jay's smile faltered. Ma, what are you doing here? Malik said, his voice a mix of shame and panic. Looking for you, Denise said, her gaze shifting to Jay. And you must be Jay, the one who told my son to steal my credit for a car. Jay's eyes narrowed, but his tone stayed smooth. Whoa, lady, I don't know what you're talking about. Malik's an artist, needs a look to make it. I just guide him. Guide him? Denise's voice rose, drawing glances from passers-by. You're scamming him, charging for fake studio time, pushing him to ruin my life. Malik stepped between them, his hands up. Ma, chill. Jay's helping me. I owe him for the tracks we cut. You owe him nothing, Denise snapped, her eyes on Malik. He's using you, Malik. The car's impounded, the police are involved, and you could be charged with fraud. Come home now. Jay laughed, a cold sound. Sounds like a family issue. Malik, you don't need this drama. Let's go. Malik hesitated, his eyes darting between them. Ma, I can't just walk away. My music's on his laptop, everything I've got. Denise's heart broke, his desperation mirroring her own. Your music's in you, not his laptop, she said, her voice softening. You're enough without this. Please, Malik. Malik looked down, his shoulders slumping. Jay grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the studio. Come on, man, we got work to do. Denise watched, helpless, as they disappeared inside, the door slamming shut. Back in Squirrel Hill, Denise met Keisha at the Carnegie Library during her lunch break, the non-fiction section quiet except for the hum of a heater. Keisha's face was grim as Denise recounted the confrontation. Jay's got him brainwashed, Keisha said, folding her arms. You tell the lawyer? Yeah, Denise said, pulling out her phone. Marlon's subpoenaing Jay's records. Says if we prove he coerced Malik, it could keep Malik out of jail. Keisha nodded, handing her a granola bar. Good. And you got to keep pushing the fraud case. The lender called yet? Not yet, Denise said, unwrapping the bar. Marlon says it could take weeks. I froze my credit, but I'm still getting collection calls for the loan. Keisha's eyes flashed. That's harassment. Tell Marlon to slap him with a cease and desist. And what about Malik? You gonna let him stay with that con artist? Denise shook her head, tears threatening. I'm going back tomorrow. I'll drag him out if I have to. Jamal joined them, his library cart creaking. Heard from my nephew, he said, his voice low. Jay's studio's a front, barely any equipment, just a laptop and a mic. He's been dodging rent too. Cops are watching him, but he's got no priors, so they're slow to act. Denise's anger flared, but Jamal's news gave her an idea. If the studio's a scam, maybe I can get Malik's stuff back, his laptop, his tracks. Show him Jay's a liar. Risky, Jamal said, but could work. I'll go with you tomorrow. Strength in numbers. The next morning, Denise and Jamal drove downtown, the snow lighter now, the city's bridges gleaming under a pale sun. Marlon had texted, DA's open to a deal if Malik testifies against Jay. Found Jay's bank records. Multiple victims. Get Malik to talk. Denise's heart lifted, hope flickering. If Malik cooperated, he might avoid charges, but she had to. Reach him first. At the studio, the door was ajar, music thumping inside. Denise pushed in, Jamal behind her, and found Malik alone, hunched over a laptop, his face drawn. "Ma?" he said, standing, his voice shaky. "What's Jamal doing here?" "Helping me save you," Denise said, her voice firm. "Jay's scamming you, Malik. His studio's a fraud. No equipment, no deals. He's got other kids' money too. You're not special to him." Malik's eyes darted to the laptop, then back to her. "He said he'd get me a deal with a label. I've got tracks, Ma. They're good." "Then they're yours to take," Denise said, stepping closer. "Where's Jay?" "Out," Malik said, his voice low. I looked at his emails. He's charging me $500 a session, same as everyone else. I have been such a fool to believe him." Denise's heart ached, relief flooding through. "Then walk away, Malik. Come home. We'll find a real studio, real people. I'll help you." Malik hesitated, then nodded, grabbing the laptop. "Let's go, before he's back." They hurried out, the snow crunching underfoot, and drove to Marlon's office, Malik's laptop on the seat beside him. Marlon met them, his eyes lighting. "Up at the news. This laptop could have Jay's records," he said, taking it. "Malik, if you testify, tell the DA how Jay pressured you into the car. We can argue coercion, maybe get you probation instead of charges." Malik swallowed hard, looking at Denise. "I'm sorry, Ma. I didn't mean for this. I wanted to be real." "I know," Denise said, squeezing his shoulder. "We're fixing it now, together." That afternoon, the lender called. The loan was under review, but Malik's cooperation had prompted them to pause collections. Marlon filed a motion to expedite the fraud dispute, citing Jay's influence, and the DA agreed to hold off on charges pending Malik's testimony. Denise drove Malik home, the apartment warm and familiar, the chili's aroma lingering. They sat at the kitchen table, the Kennywood photo between them, a silent promise. "You're not off the hook," Denise said, her voice soft but firm. "You'll pay me back, not with money, but with truth. No more lies." Malik nodded, his voice quiet. "I get it, Ma. I'm done with Jay, done with shortcuts." Denise smiled, tears falling. Outside, Squirrel Hill's lights glowed, the snow a blanket over their past mistakes. The fight wasn't over. The loan lingered. Jay's scam loomed. But for now, Malik was home, and that was a start. She thought of Pittsburgh's bridges, steady and strong, carrying them forward, one step at a time. Snow draped Pittsburgh's Squirrel Hill like a quilt, softening Murray Avenue's edges and icing the Monongahela River's banks. Denise Carter stood in her apartment kitchen, the radiator humming, her hands wrapped around a mug of tea. The morning light spilled through the window, catching the photo of her and Malik at Kennywood, their smiles frozen in a happier time. A week ago, Malik's return from Jay's studio, laptop in hand and apologies on his lips, had cracked open the door to healing. But the $25,000 car loan he'd taken out in her name still loomed, a legal battle tethered to the impounded Dodge Charger and the fraud affidavit Denise had filed. Today, a meeting with the district attorney would decide Malik's fate, probation or charges, and Denise's heart was a tangle of hope and fear. Malik sat at the table, his red hoodie swapped for a borrowed button-up, his eyes fixed on a notebook of lyrics. At 20, he was trying to rebuild, his music now a quiet dream rather than a reckless chase. "You sure about this, Ma?" he asked, his voice low. "Testifying against Jay. What if it backfires?" Denise set her mug down, her voice steady. "It's the right thing, Malik. Jay scammed you, pushed you to hurt me. If we expose him, it helps you and others. Marlon says the DA's on our side." Malik nodded, his fingers tracing the notebook's edge. "I'm sorry, Ma, for everything. I thought I could be somebody quick, but I just messed us up." Denise reached across the table, squeezing his hand. "You are somebody, my son, my heart. We're fixing this together." Her words were a promise, But the weight of the past month, Malik's betrayal, the police report, the fear of losing him, still lingered. Her phone buzzed, a text from Keisha. "At UPMC, but I'll be at the DA's office for moral support." "You got this." Denise smiled, Keisha's fierce loyalty a lifeline. Another text followed from Marlon Hayes, her lawyer. "DA's ready to deal. Malik's testimony could seal Jay's case and clear the loan. Meet at 10 a.m. Denise's pulse quickened. This was their shot at justice, not just for her credit, but for Malik's future. The Allegheny County District Attorney's Office was a stark contrast to Squirrel Hill's warmth, its gray walls and fluorescent lights amplifying Denise's nerves. Marlon met her and Malik in the lobby, his pirate's cap traded for a suit, his calm demeanor grounding them. "The DA's offering a deal," he said, leading them to a conference room. Malik testifies against Jay Carter, detailing the scam, how Jay coerced him into the car loan for his image. In exchange, no charges for identity theft, just probation and community service. The lenders leaning toward voiding the loan, thanks to your affidavit and the police report. Denise exhaled, relief mingling with caution. And Jay, what happens to him? "Fraud charges, maybe more," Marlon said, his eyes sharp. "Your tip about his studio led us to his laptop, records of payments from dozens of kids, fake contracts, the works. Malik's testimony will nail him." Malik shifted, his hands clenched. "What if Jay comes after me?" "He won't," Marlon said firmly. "The DA's building a case to shut him down. You're doing the right thing, Malik." The DA, a no-nonsense woman named Ms. Torres, joined them, her notepad thick with notes. "Mr. Carter," she said, eyeing Malik, "you're lucky your mother's fighting for you. Tell me about Jay, everything." Malik took a deep breath, his voice steady but raw. "Jay said I needed a car to look legit, to impress labels. He set up the deal at the dealership, told me to use Ma's credit, said it'd be temporary. I paid him $2,000 for studio time, but it was just a laptop in a room. He's got other kids doing the same, paying for nothing." Denise's chest tightened, pride and pain colliding. Malik was owning his mistakes, but the cost of his trust in Jay was clear. Ms. Torres nodded, jotting notes. "That matches our evidence. We're charging Jay with fraud and grand theft. Your cooperation means no charges for you, Mr. Carter, pending probation and 100 hours of community service." "Agreed." Malik glanced at Denise, then nodded. "Yeah, I'll do it." Denise squeezed his shoulder, tears threatening. "Thank you," she said to Torres, her voice thick. "What about the loan?" "The lender's processing the fraud claim," Torres said. "With your affidavit and Malik's testimony, it should be voided. You'll need to monitor your credit, but you're in the clear." Back in Squirrel Hill, Denise and Malik stopped at 61C Cafe, the cozy shop packed with students and retirees, the smell of espresso a small comfort. Keisha joined them, her scrubs wrinkled from a long shift, her grin wide. "You did it." "Malik," she said, hugging him, "told you your ma's a warrior." Malik managed a smile, sipping his latte. "Yeah, she is. I messed up big, but I'm gonna make it right." Denise's heart swelled, but a text from Marlon tempered her. Relief, Jay's arraignment's tomorrow. Malik needs to testify in court, lenders close to voiding the loan, but we need one more push. The fight wasn't over, but Malik's willingness to face Jay in court was a step toward redemption. At the Carnegie Library, Denise's shift was a blur of shelving books and helping patrons, her mind on the arraignment. Jamal caught her in the break room, his face serious. "Heard about Jay's charges," he said, handing her a coffee. "My nephew's friend got scammed by him too. You and Malik are heroes for this." Denise shook her head, stirring her coffee. "Not heroes, just trying to fix a mess." "You're more than that," Jamal said. "The community center's planning a youth event, music showcase, no scams. They want Malik to perform. You think he's up for it?" Denise's eyes lit up. "Maybe," It could be good for him. Real music, real people. The next day, the Allegheny County Courthouse loomed under a fresh layer of snow, its stone facade as unyielding as Pittsburgh's bridges. Denise, Malik, and Marlon arrived early, Keisha and Tanya from the community center in the gallery for support. Jay sat at the defense table, his gold chain gone, his slick smile replaced by a scowl. Malik took the stand, his voice clear despite his nerves, recounting Jay's promises, the car loan, the fake studio sessions. Denise watched, pride swelling as he faced his mistake head-on. Jay's lawyer tried to spin it. Malik acted alone. Jay was just a mentor, but Marlon's evidence was damning. Bank records, emails, and statements from other victims, all uncovered thanks to Malik's laptop. The judge, a stern man with wire-rimmed glasses, ruled swiftly. "Mr. Carter," he said to Jay, "you're charged with multiple counts of fraud and theft. Bail denied, trial set for March." The gavel fell and Jay was led away, his glare passing over Malik without power. Outside, the snow fell softly, Pittsburgh's skyline a mix of steel and light. Malik hugged Denise, his voice thick. "I'm sorry, Ma, for all of it." "I know," Denise said, holding him tight. "You made it right today. That's what matters." That afternoon, the lender called. The loan was voided, Denise's. Credit cleared, though repairs would take months. Marlon filed a final report, ensuring no further collections, and the DA confirmed Malik's probation. 100 hours at the community center, mentoring kids about scams. Denise drove Malik home, Squirrel Hill's streets glowing under streetlights, the apartment warm with the smell of chili she'd made to celebrate. The next week, the community center hosted its music showcase, a packed event with local teens performing under fairy lights, the air buzzing with hope. Malik took the stage, his voice raw over a beat he'd written himself, lyrics about mistakes and second chances. Denise stood with Keisha, Tanya, and Jamal, tears streaming as the crowd cheered, her sun shining without Jay's lies. Later, they walked home, the snow crunching underfoot, the Kennywood photo a reminder of their roots. "I'm starting at the community college again," Malik said, his breath visible in the cold. "And I'll help with the bills, Ma. No more shortcuts." Denise smiled, her heart full. "I'm proud of you, Malik. We're gonna be okay." Outside, Pittsburgh's bridges stretched across the rivers, their steel a testament to resilience. Denise looked at them, then at Malik, and knew they'd crossed the hardest divide. Squirrel Hill's lights wrapped around them, a promise of tomorrow. Together, unbroken home.